Good evening, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. I got a message through, let me see, this is from PayPal. Okay, now PayPal is a way in which you can receive money sent to you, and I think that they take a small percentage, but all of those different ways of receiving money, they want their cut, and that's the nature. Let me see, I've gone and lost it. That's the nature of the way that the money world goes, and how the banking system goes. And I wonder how many people really know how the banking system works. We are very much, let me see, here's the happy little note from PayPal. Congratulations, Terence. You've been selected to apply to PayPal Cashback MasterCard. Wow, oh joy. What it means is it's an invitation to get in debt. And it seems like that, even though that I've touched on this before, just my opinion, okay, a lot of people work very well with the credit card system. I did talk to someone a few days ago, it seems, and I was looking at the truck that they had, and the truck they had was 1.9 million pesos. Absolutely beautiful truck. You were a truck to die for. Four-wheel drive, and it was hyped, and it just had all the image that the Americans are just so good at doing. I always feel that nobody does an over-the-top truck like the Americans do. It's their bag, and they do it so well. You will see, if you spend any time in America, you will see trucks there which are beyond belief. They are so tricked out, and they cost a lot of money. Now, our friend John S., who was with us recently, actually remarked that he had seen one such beautiful truck here in the Philippines, and had gone up, introduced himself to the proud owner, and said, do you mind if I ask how much you paid for this wonderful truck? And the man was more than happy to tell him what. And then John said that he couldn't buy that truck in America because America had seemingly at least some of the manufacturers have stopped making those trucks. Well, that's just a little bit for your interest. Back to the idea of money and how it's used. The person that I was talking to that had apparently spent 1.9 million pesos on his truck, which he was very, very proud of. It was a Raptor, beautiful truck. Made my mouth water to just look at it. And I said to him, so I'm thinking that he was a successful businessman. I'm thinking that you paid for that in cash, and that seems like a lot of money to pay out in cash. No, he says, I wouldn't dream of paying that amount of money in cash. So I said, but surely you must agree that it's better to live a life out of debt. And he said, let me explain to you how having this vehicle on finance helps me. And then he worked through the figures, which he knew off by heart, and because he was in the business of selling produce, he said, if I put down, and don't hold me to these figures because I'm just going to illustrate how he'd made it work. and we're not looking at accurate figures. I'm just saying, for instance, if he said if he laid down, say, 250,000 pesos, so he lays down 250,000 pesos down payment, and the rest he has over, say, 4 years, and he makes his payment of whatever it was, 20 or maybe 20 or 30,000 in payments. But it enables him to use the money that he did not put down. So he's thinking the million. So for instance, let's say that he then had as working capital his million pesos, and then he worked out on his calculator a million pesos would be so many bags of produce, and he would be able to sell that produce, and he had all the figures worked out, so that in fact he was making a very big profit by being able to buy 1,000,000 pesos worth of produce that he could actually sell in 1 month. So the figures worked out actually wonderfully. It wouldn't be any good for me because I prefer to live out of debt, and the money that that is taken, excuse me, the money that goes in being in debt is just wasted money for me. I would rather be clear of debt, apart from the fact that I wouldn't want to leave my Beth with debt should I decide to, or maybe part of some reluctant decision to pass on. I would want her clear of debt. So that's why we've always worked very hard and kept ourselves debt free. That's been the goal, to be debt free here in the Philippines. Now, the way that it works, when you come in and you have, especially in the Philippines, the banks come in and they're going to have very slick advertising which will show beautiful models, handsome men, beautiful women, and they will come in, and very often they are celebrities who say, I like my life to go very well and to be able to have the things that I want. And there is this very subtle way of putting it that in fact you can have what you want now, as if there's no payment to be made. And all the banks have their different logos, and some of them have very, very computer graphics to illustrate their thing. So you get the guy come on, and he'll be handsome, image, a great looking guy, and he'll say, so you need a car, click, and little click of the fingers, and there comes a CD rendition of the car that you would love to have, the Raptor for 1.9 million. No mention is there of payments. No mention is there for how long it will take you to pay off that debt. No mention is made of the fact that for every peso that comes into your hand, which is borrowed, it's not worth a peso. It's already, like, they found that certainly when I was in America, the average person was something between 10 and I think it was, I'm inclined to say, $10,000 and $15,000 in debt. So these were all people who were paying the minimum amount, and the minimum amount will leave you for years and years, for the length of like a mortgage payment. well, you all know that when you buy a house, you have a mortgage. A short mortgage would be 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. And you can get through with, now in America, with car payments, with house payments. You can refinance, and you refinance, and it's all going up. And then they have what's called the balloon payment, and it means that you have a greater hit at the end of the line. Plus they have what I seem to remember was the do-on, what I think they smilingly called the do-on clause. And if things really start to get tough, your payment in full is due on whatever they say. And because the banks are so powerful, they have a system which is absolutely made in their interest. Now, I know that a lot of people who are doing very, very well will argue this and say no one is forcing you to borrow money, and no one's actually nailing your foot to the floor. You make these choices freely as an adult, and of course you are absolutely true. That is absolutely true. But constantly in a world which is seemingly getting both worse and better, we're now in a situation where contracts are being looked at again for how bad they are for the part of the one person, even to the point of changing things like in movies. I think the lady that used to be in one of the most famous beginning titles that came up was a very beautiful young woman in a long white gown, and I think she held up a light, not unlike perhaps the Statue of Liberty, but her image was used for countless years, and when she had it, no one could ever have predicted that her image would be used for so many years. And some of those contracts, in the same way for some of the movies or the made-for-TV movies, which went on and repeat and repeat. Something like MASH is being repeated in some country somewhere almost every minute of the day. And the people who were involved in those things did not get, when viewed later in the way that life unfolded, it was needed to be that they would be given a better crack at the profits that come rolling in, and they have done that. Well, I gave you that example of the young woman who I sat next to in a clinic somewhere, the dentist or something, and she said she warned me against parking outside because of what happened to her. She parked, she got clamped, she got towed away. It was a Thursday, she couldn't get there until Friday. She went there, she got there too late. It was too late to get her car out of the compound. It was closed on Saturday and Sunday. She couldn't go there on Monday. And all of these circumstances just keep piling up, as did all of the fees. So every time it was another day, it was another, I don't know, $70 or $80 a day, plus whatever the ticket was, plus the tow away. And in the end, she lost her car because she was just a working girl, not driving a fancy car, by the way, but it was a cheap car that she could afford because she didn't make a payment on it. No, she couldn't afford it, and she couldn't get it back. So that, and they're not held accountable. Now, it's ironic that PayPal should have congratulated me on having, wow, Terence, congratulations, look what we're going to give you. give you the chance to apply for this particular kind of credit card. We're going to help you to get in debt. And then every dollar that you earn will only be $75 or $80 or $85 instead of a full dollar. Well, it's never a full dollar anyway, because it has to be made by the Federal Reserve, which is a private company. So it all gets messier and messier and messier. And I remember that I had a credit card by PayPal, which I actually didn't need. I let my son have it. He was very good. He bought stuff with it, paid it off. He put up quite a bit of musical equipment on it, which he charged on it, and then saved. He paid the whole thing off, and finally got his own card and handed me a nice clean credit card. I was going to China, so I called PayPal and I said, I'm going to China. I'm going to take my PayPal credit card with me, and I'm going to pay my ticket, my return ticket back. See? So on the phone, everybody's very nice. So get to China, and I'm there for about 6 weeks. Decide that I better get home, and I go in and try to pay for my return ticket with my PayPal credit card, and find that I can't. The card has never been used in any kind of abusive way. Always paid off in full. Once run up a big bill, all in good faith, all paid off, everything done, handed back to me clean. And there's me. I've already told them that definitely I will use this, and explained everything. Got them okay. Please make a note of it on the computer. When it came to it, they turned it down. At first I didn't understand, so I went to another bank, went to an ATM machine. No, it was blocked. Went in, talked to the bank. They said, well, and they were very kind actually. They made a phone call. No, your credit card has been refused. So, fortunately, I'd taken my ATM card, which did have the access to that amount of money for that return ticket. When I got back, I got in touch with PayPal. PayPal, for reasons best known to themselves, just decided, no, we've taken your limit, even though your card has never been in the red, never been late, never been over the limit for what you are agreed on, $2,000 at the time. We're going to bring it down to $200. Just totally unilaterally, they decided that no matter what my record up to that point had been, they were going to cut it down. And that's what they did. So I said, no, that's not what you're going to do. I'm going to cut that card up, and you're going to give me my final bill, and I'm good for it. It was like $5 or something. Yeah, I'm good for it. And that you're going to tell me what it needs to close this account completely, fully paid and everything. And I paid the pittance that was needed, and I've never looked at having any kind of a credit card, especially with PayPal, since. Because contrary to what a lot of people think, what a lot of people think is that if they have a credit card and they have, say, let's say they have a very modest credit card nowadays, and they have a £500 or $1,000. Let's pick $1,000. $1,000 that they can draw on. So they go to the bank. They perhaps draw a little money, a little cash over there, which is a high interest rate and a high charge. But they did that. This is on the first week of the month. And on the second week, at the end of the first week, say beginning of the second week, they fill up with gas. And again, the following week, then they might pay at McDonald's or some other fast food, and they run up a modest debt by the end of the month of, say, $300. So in comes the charge, and it's $300. That's what you owe. You pay the whole thing off, and a lot of people think that the bank love them for that. Well, I'm a good customer, you know. They send me the bill, I use the card, they send me the bill, I pay the card off, I'm never overdrawn, I've never this. No, that's not that's not what banks are about. Banks are about getting you to run up the bill to 1,000. So you keep it within 1,000, and at the end of the month, let's say that on the 21st of the month you get your bill. It's not actually a bill, it's called a statement. So you get a statement and it says that you owe $995 on your $1,000 limit. Now, you put that payment in, and for some reason it does not register, and you only leave yourself a week, as many do. So now you've got an over the limit, because when you're late on the payment, you've only got, say, $995, so you only had $5 to reach your limit, and the penalty might be $25. So now you're over. Not only are you late with the payment, but you have another penalty come up because you're over the limit. Now, in order to just get back into the black, you have to come up with a sizable chunk of change if you're used to paying just the minimum payment. And this is how the bank loves to have you. You are the other kind of customer that they like. You're the one that's in trouble, just keeping your head above water and failing, but struggling on paying the extra, keep on paying another penalty. Oh, they love it. They love it. They're not your friend. And so, why am I even bringing this up? Well, apart from that little regular reminder that I get from PayPal, what I see that's happening now is every time Beth goes into the bank, somebody will come up and say, oh, we see that you're depositing this or drawing that, and can we give you a credit card? Wouldn't you like the convenience of a credit card? You can go to, whenever you get a little bit short, you can tide yourself over, and all the arguments. And they're amazed that Beth does not bite. But I've explained, certainly my way of looking at it, and a way that you may choose to look at it. And she says no. Now, with a lot of people, especially when you start to get in trouble, and this is the worst case scenario, and one that you may have in the past found yourself in, is the paying Peter, robbing Peter to pay Paul, which in English speak means you're going to take from one card and make the payment with another card. And a lot of people find themselves in that situation. So they'll save one card from going into an emergency situation and use another card to pay it off. And they'll do the juggling like this. And that's when you really start to get in trouble, because the moment that you've got two cards which have gone over the date, so they're late payment, and that takes them over the limit. Boy, that's the two. Those are the two deadly things that you must not let happen. And you will very quickly be unable to work this out. Now eventually, of course, they will close on you, and your debt will go to, well, what they call going to collection. Now I remember that when things started going really rough in Florida, being perfectly honest about this now, I'm not proud of it, but I remember that when I first got my house there, I received a check for $8,000, and boy, no check to see if I could afford it, no asking me, said, here's $8,000, all you have to do is just sign the check and the $8,000 is yours to do with whatever you wish. So, thank you very much, I said, and I did that. Now, the payments come in and you have to make the payments on that. So let's just say for the sake of argument that the minimum payment on that $8,000 was $20. Right, so if I make the minimum payment of $20, the end result of that would be staggering. I listened to a program on NPR, National Public Radio, and they had an expert on there for finances. And this is when people were going to hell. Families were losing their homes and so on. And I'm bringing this up now, not just to regurgitate and bring up another sad story from years back. I'm bringing it up because the threat is there for the Philippines. If it's not careful, this is what's going to happen with the Philippines, because people are going to borrow on those cards, and they're going to borrow themselves into oblivion, and then they're not going to know what to do about it. So you make your payment according to the experts who said, for instance, a $5,000 loan taken out. They tried to get a loan from a loan company where you would actually get a bona fide loan from the bank, and the bank would charge you a certain amount of interest. Well, what had happened was that the daughter of the guy that was talking was saying that his daughter had said to him, I'm rather than go to the bank and go through all of that rigmarole, I've got a $5,000 limit on my credit card, and I just used that $5,000, and now I make the payments. Well, the man was good at figures and he was good at showing what that meant in real terms, and the interest was such that his daughter would have been paying for years on that $5,000, and it's not a huge amount of money, is it? $5,000 in America, and she would have been paying interest on that loan, and it would have worked out over something like 20 or 25 years. Now that's a long time to be paying on something. Now, would the bank not like you to do that? Oh boy, they would love you to do that. They would love you to keep that payment going, a little bit like the pharmaceuticals would like you to buy that pill for the rest of your life, to maintain it, maintenance medicine. And that's the way that it works. And these big corporations are not there. They're not there to cure you. They're not there to get you the things that you want. They're there to make money. Big time. Big time. So I've talked too much as usual, so I'll let this one go. Let's hope against hope that Filipinos will not embrace the debt system. At the moment, Westerners find this difficult to understand and accept, and that is the idea of, can you borrow me X amount of money? And a lot of them have realized that what this means is, can you give me that? I've had a few comments that have come through, and they've said, yeah, they don't mean borrow, they don't mean lend. It's not an incorrect use of the word. It's just a lie. They're not intending to repay. And in a lot of cases, when that happens, as long as it's not too big an amount of money, then you pay it and you give it as a gift, and that person will never come to you again because they'll be too ashamed. So let's hope that the debt system, with all of the ramifications of all of the credit controls, all of the credit companies that will have a word to say about what your credit worthiness is, and how if you pay your electricity bill late, they can put up the interest on your credit card. They have words for it. For me, it's organised crime. Let's end on that one. Okay, thanks for being with me. Bye for now.